So after an intense week of leaks, teasers, speculation, Ableton Move is finally out and it's a standalone groovebox. But also Ableton Live 12.1 is out of beta and has been released officially today. And another announcement from today is a new futuristic gestural controller by Roli, so we're gonna have a look at it as well. So Move is Ableton's new portable standalone groovebox. It's sort of like a mini push, and I don't have it yet, but I've ordered one and hopefully it will arrive next week, so I'll be able to do a more in-depth video on it. It's essentially Ableton's iOS app Note in a hardware form. So you get 1500 sounds that you can sequence to create musical ideas, but you can also sample from the line input or the built-in mic. It doesn't include all of Ableton Live's built-in devices and features, but it does include drift, wavetable, and the new drum sampler, plus a melodic sampler. It also has a built-in speaker and a battery that's supposed to last for around 4 hours, and also Wi-Fi for transferring samples and projects. And also 64 gigabytes of memory, and I'm looking at you, Teenage Engineering, with your 64 megabytes on the KO2. But in fairness, Move has its own big limitation. It only has 4 tracks. And I feel that's kind of a deal breaker for a lot of people, even if it's intended just as a sketchpad. But it does introduce a new feature that can sort of act as a workaround to overcome this limitation. You can play and sequence drum rack pads chromatically, which is also known as 16 levels tuning, a feature some of you may be familiar from the MPC, and Machine also has that, of course. And curiously, this is something that you can't do with Live or Push, but it's definitely needed here with these 4 tracks. So in a way, each pad of the drum rack can be considered a track, sort of. I also like that it has the capture feature, which is essentially retrospective MIDI recording, and it can also record automation. But I'm not very fond of the lack of proper audio tracks, and there's also no proper way to chop samples. Now, to be clear, chopping is possible, and it's currently done by tapping different pads while you're recording the sample. So it switches the pads to which the sample is recorded in real time. So essentially it's like a real-time chopping, a feature that again is familiar from Akai's MPC line. As expected, it's also an Ableton Live controller and audio interface, although the input and output are 3.5mm jacks, and you can also connect a MIDI keyboard via the USB port. So it's a USB host, which is definitely cool to have on such a small portable device. Price is around €450 or dollars, which is competitive when compared to similar devices like Novation Circuit or Teenage Engineering OPZ, considering that you're also getting a Push Mini to control Ableton Live with this device. Now let's be honest, from what I've seen, Move is getting a lot of negative reactions in comment sections all around the internet. Maybe it's the power users being unhappy at a beginner-friendly device. I don't know, but unlike them, I will reserve my judgment until I can get my hands on one. And for now, I'm moderately positive, although I'm not too thrilled at the 4-track limitation and the tiny display. Ableton are marketing it as something for making beats everywhere, but honestly, very few people do that. Making music in the car or on the beach, it looks cool, but I feel like people mostly like the idea of it rather than actually do it. At least that's my personal experience, but definitely let me know what you think down in the comments. So this big hardware release kind of overshadowed the fact that Ableton have today also released version 12.1 of Live officially, so it's no longer in beta. And if you have automatic updates enabled, Live will update itself the next time you restart it. I've made a video on some of the more important features of 12.1 while it was still in beta, and I will link it in the description below. But if you have a quick look at Live 12's release notes, some of the new features in 12.1 are auto shift, so this is basically native real-time pitch correction in Ableton Live, so this is kind of an auto-tune device, but as an Ableton Live device, something that was very much requested for years. We got the new drum sampler, which seems to be the backbone of Ableton Move. The limiter has been updated and it's now more like a proper limiter. Another great update is the saturator, improved with a bass enhancer shaper curve. We can now filter and select MIDI notes by pitch, time, velocity, chance, etc. And you can also chop MIDI notes, and we have a chop MIDI tool, and this is available available in the Transform tab in the MIDI editor, and also in the MIDI editor we have MPE MIDI tools such as the Glissando and LFO tool, scale awareness for audio clips, so this works really well in conjunction with the new auto shift device. You can also apply grooves instantly. We have an undo history, we have a full height browser, and also the browser auto tags your user content automatically, so you don't have to tag your samples manually to have them appear with tags, and this makes it much easier to find the right sample when you're looking for something. Definitely a great improvement, and this auto tagging also works for plugins. But yeah, Live 12.1 is a massive update, so many new features, making the update more attractive to people who are still on earlier versions of Live, but also making sure those of us who invested in the Live 12 update get good value for their money. And the last bit of news today comes from Roli, you know, the company that makes those rubbery, squishy, super expressive keyboards with MPE capabilities. Well, today they have announced Airwave, and this seems to be a hardware stand that's an add-on for your keyboard, and it adds gestural control to your playing. So it has sensors that detect the position of your hands and control some parameters in your virtual instrument, assuming it's a compatible instrument. Learning to play the keys, it also includes a practice assistant that can see and hear, providing feedback on your progress. So it looks kind of cool, and it seems that after Roli went bankrupt in 2019, they have relaunched with new products that aim to attract a broader customer base, as you can see from this footage. But this new expressiveness looks cool, probably influenced by Roland's D-Beam, which provides similar way to control parameters like pitch, filter, volume, just by moving your hand above the sensor. In fact, at some point Roland were putting these D-beams on everything, even this cheap MIDI keyboard has that feature where you can do this and control some parameters without touching it. And it kind of looks like a theremin, which, although it's a synthesizer, kind of looks a very similar way to control sound. So I wouldn't be surprised if the theremin was also an inspiration for this new Roli device. And so that's it for today. I actually really enjoyed doing these news recaps, so I hope they are useful and informative to you, and if they are, hit the like button. I'll probably do another one towards the end of the week to recap some more news stories, so subscribe if you want to be up to date on these things, and I will catch you later.